Assalamualaikum, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to yet another Club 100 video. This time we are at Whilton Mill, round 9 of the championship. Now, as I said in the previous video, I was very confident heading into Whilton Mill. It's usually been a relatively good track for me in terms of pace, and this first heat we're starting all the way down in P10. It's our lowest starting position of all the heats, so let's get underway then. I think this was heat 3 of the day, and actually the entire day was live streamed. I'll link the Alpha Live stream in the YouTube description if anyone wants to watch that. But we go through turn 1, we've got the inside for turn 2, and we hold it relatively tight, and the C's kind of open. Everyone tends to go wide on the exit of turn 2 at Whilton, so as a result we get to gain a load of positions. We're up the inside, little bit of pushing going on, and I know not to keep it on the outside through the left-hander after Christmas because, yeah, you can get mullered. We go to the inside, brake relatively early so we don't go into the back of anyone. Mike Coppin brakes really late on the outside and gains a whole bunch of places, so that's a really good move from Mike. Ned sends us up the inside, I brake early, get the switch back on both him and Amy Beecher, who ended up going a little bit wide when side-by-side with Mike. I think Mike squeezed Amy a bit on corner exit, and then Ned sends us down into the boot. Aggressive move from Ned, very cleanly done though. And I have a little thing, can I go up the inside into the final corner? But that's just a disaster waiting to happen, especially this early in the race. So I just decide I'll get my head down and try to catch up to these guys. Now, I will say, Ned has an absolute rocket of a kart. I looked at the lap times after the race, and I'm 95% sure that his car is a rocket. But that being said, I know I can still catch him. I can still try to beat him and all of the others further up the road as well. So it's just about focusing on the track in front of us and trying to close into everyone. Through the first of the double left-handers, the reverse Lesmos, as James Johnston would call it. Someone gets a bad exit, so that allows us to go through. I have a think, do I want to make it 3 abreast? And I decide, that's just not going to be smart, so we end up going up the inside. I make a little bit of contact with the guy ahead, so that probably was a bit wrong of me. I was going for the gap behind Ned, who put his arms up in frustration, so he picked up a penalty, and that was really good for me, because now I know Ned had a penalty, but I wasn't really able to stick with him. A lap later, you see me lifting off the throttle because I think that's Adam Wright, who it's his first race in the championship. Apparently, he's a very quick driver from previous seasons. So I thought, I'm not going to battle with him. I'm going to try to stick behind him and use that to close in onto Ned and the driver's head, because I know Ned has a penalty anyway. And because he got past on one, I knew it'd be at least 2 places, if not 4. So yeah, so just try to stick behind people, try to gain time. But a lap later, or 2 laps later, Dan Seeger ends up catching us. Again, I let him through. I don't want to battle with Dan. I know Dan relatively well. And again, I just want to stick behind and try to work my way up the order rather than battling and then more people catching up to me. So I could tell that my pace wasn't good, which was pretty shocking for me. It was very upsetting actually midway through the heat, just realizing I don't have the pace relative to the quick guys, but hey ho. And now this is on the last lap of the race, so we've been able to close in thanks to Dan Seeger finding a way through on, I believe this is Patrick Martin in front of us, and I decide to go up the inside into the double left-hander, but I then squeeze him on corner exit, which I thought was fine because other drivers have done that to me in the past, but it turns out it wasn't fine. So we finished P6 on track. It should have been P5 after Ned's penalty, but because we got a 4-place penalty for squeezing a driver off circuit, we ended up finishing 10th. I don't like squeezing. It's not a move I'd usually do, but other people have done that to me, and I've been told that I was stupid for... well, not directly told that I was stupid, but effectively told that I was being stupid for not yielding the position. So, yeah, I drove like that, and I got a penalty. But yeah, here we go, Heat 2. We're starting in second, so this was the one that I wanted to win. And I know Mike Coppin was in this heat as well, but I just wanted to get a good start and just try to drive away with this one. But we don't get a good start. I was getting loaded so much into turn 1, and Steph just completely runs wide. Which left me with nowhere to go. So I had to back out or just get completely clouded. So now we drop down into what, like P6, P7. I've got Ned Douglas in front of me again, and Steph, and the top three are just going to drive away with this one. Then as we go through Inkermans, someone decides to rejoin the track unsafely. And you can't start a kart from a standstill here at Club 100, so you've got to get out and you've got to push it onto circuit. So the entire field is miles down the road, and I was kind of cursing at this point, but I tried my best not to get angry and just focus on the drive ahead, because you never know what could happen. And then this happened. I think this is one lap later. A certain Nicky Richardson decides, you know what, let's cross the circuit on a live track right on the racing line, because you go all the way out through Ashby's. Yeah, and I almost run him over. Well, almost. It wasn't that close because I jumped on the brakes, but it was a little bit annoying. And then on the final lap of Heat 2, it turns out a radiator blew up, so there's just radiator oil on the circuit, so we just have no grip. And I hear my rear tyres spin up, and I thought there was an issue with my car. I thought the chain had come off or something weird. So I'm being really tentative now, and you can see again no grip into Ashby, and I can see the guys up ahead, so I'm thinking, oh, I can catch them. But again, I've got no grip, and you'll see it here going down into the second of the two left-handers. I just end up almost going wide into JV, who are standing there. And I don't want to understeer into JV. That's probably not the person that I want to hit on a Club 100 day. So yeah, if I'd realised that it was radiator fluid on the circuit at the time, maybe I could have gained one position, but I didn't. So yeah, we ended up finishing, I think this race we finished in P14. So we've had a P10 and a P14, which, for those people who have seen these videos who race in Club 100, you know, those are not good results, especially if you're trying to make it into the A final. So for Heat 3, we're starting all the way down in P8, and I knew there weren't too many big hitters in this race. We've got Dan Seeger up ahead, and I think Sam Essery is behind me. But aside from that, I genuinely thought this is a race that I could win. So it all comes down to the opening couple of laps, and just need to get my head down and yeah, just try to make my way through the field. So again, we've got the inside for this turn 2 through Oblivion, as I think they call it. It was Oblivion turn 1, I can't remember. By the way, it's a good run. We're up the inside now into Christmas. Try not to load anyone. A little bit of pushing, but it's not, you know, a massive shunt. And now we've got the inside 4. I believe this is Inkermans. Try not to get muddled with everyone. And I have a think about going up the inside, but I'm actually getting pushed from behind into whoever that was in 4th place. So that, I don't think, was me. I'm pretty sure I was getting pushed from behind. If I wasn't, then that was a bit aggressive. As I go up the inside into the two left-handers, I think that's a fairly clean move. I get pretty much all the way alongside by the apex. And with that, we are up into P4. So now I just wanted to get my head down and try to close in. And a couple of laps later, I catch up to P3. You can see that I get a much better exit coming out of the corner. Left with nowhere to go, so I look one way, then I dart over to the inside. Easy send up into Christmas corner. So I mean, to be honest, that was the race. Nothing really happened after that point. So this is now heading on to lap 7. So this was my fastest lap of the day, which was a 55.0. I clipped the curb going into the final corner, which isn't smart. So I thought I'd run everyone through a hot lap here at Whilton. I give a little lift for turn 2 just to stabilize the car so I can get a good run up the hill. You can take it flat, but I just wasn't having the confidence. Through Christmas, taking the curb on apex, and then it's just flat all the way down the hill. You have to actually brake really early for Ashby's corner, and again, it's just about getting on the power as quickly as possible so that you get some momentum. Use that little bit of tarmac on entry and all of this tarmac on the exit of the corner. And this is one of the trickiest corners on the circuit because it's off camber, and you can take an early apex, a late apex, a mid apex. So it's just about trying to find the grip and then into the boot on the brakes, using all of the curb, keep the car to the left so that you can pretty much floor it all the way through the rest of the boot. And this final corner I was struggling with. I gave a little bit of a lift just so that I'm not sliding through and I can get a good run on corner exit. This final lap as well is another 55-0, so 2 consistent 55 deads, but I wasn't able to catch up to the 2 at the front, and I think it's Matthew Cochran who ended up picking up the win for this heat. So yeah, that's been pretty much the day of racing. I ended up starting in the B final in 8th. I ended up finishing 4th on circuit, 3rd after penalty, so I missed out on the A final. I would show my B final race, but I forgot to press the recording button on my GoPro before the heat. So no B final. It was all streamed though by Alpha Live, so I'll put a link in the YouTube description with the timestamp for my B final heat. And if you want any of my other heats, or if you want to see any of the other heats, they were heats 3, 6, and 10 in the lightweight. So yeah, that's everything from Whilton Mill. Not my best day. It was the first time this season I've not made it into the A final, which was obviously very disappointing. And considering Whilton's usually a decent track for me, it was quite gutting. But that's how it goes. You know, unfortunately taken out in one of the heats, and in another heat getting a penalty that I didn't need to get, let's say. Even if it was a deserved penalty, I didn't need to get that penalty. I would have had the position anyway if I didn't squeeze him, so it is what it is. We move on to Ella Park for the next round of Club 100. Actually got Ella Park this Wednesday as well for Club 73, so I get to get some practice beforehand. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.